journalist and TV producer. Welcome to my interview series, How to Get into TV, Radio and Film, in which top industry professionals share their career stories and talk about the different ways to get into this business. To keep up to date with who I'm interviewing and when, do subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a new week, so that means a new talented guest. So let me introduce her. She's a camera assistant and clapper loader, and she's worked on a huge variety of projects, including The Proms and feature documentary Spitfire. Welcome, Emily Tait. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Serena. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So do share with us, how did you get into this industry and why did you choose this industry?
So my story's a bit of a fluke, really. I loved film when I was young. I was watching behind the scenes on everything, loved films. And it was actually when I was leaving school and I had to decide on my ASs, so my A-levels at college. I already knew that I wanted to take English. So I was taking English Lit, English language, and I loved photography. So I had 3 and I had to have 4. So I remember sitting down with my dad. He said, you know, we've got to pick a 4th. He was kind of going through the list of options. And he said, film studies. I thought, film studies? Do you study film? You watch them, you enjoy them. Is that something you can study?
So clearly it hadn't even been an option or a possibility for you.
Yeah, it was like a passion. I love film, but I didn't, at school, no one had kind of explained that, you know, the jobs in the real world, industries like that need roles, don't they? So I went, okay, yeah, take film, lovely. Popped it on. So I did the AS for the 4 subjects, failed miserably. I think it was quite a big jump from school to A-level. I don't know, adjustments. I didn't really fit in the college I was in. So I thought, oh, maybe, you know, it's not going to happen. So then I think it was a week before we were meant to go back into A2. I decided I was going to change college. So I changed colleges, went to a new college and sat down with the film teacher there. And he said, we are going to do your AS and your A2 in 1 year. And he did. I probably owe quite a lot to him. Well, I do owe a lot to him, to be honest, because he took me through a retake of my AS and he took me through my A2 in that year. Passed. From there, managed to go to university and study film and theatre. And then I made the break by jumping from uni into an in-house production company where I learned a little bit of everything.
How did that happen?
That was through a contact from university, which goes to show how important networking is, even at university level while studying. And so there, that was good. I learned a little bit of everything, kind of jack of all trades, master of none.
So what was the production house? What was it?
It was just a really cool. Sorry?
What was it, a facilities house or?
No, just a really small in-house production company that sort of did web stuff, really. Quite a small place, but you know, great opportunity. And then from there, I decided, look, you know, if I stay here, I'm not going to be able to progress any further. Not quite as professional as I'd hoped it could have been or as I wanted to be. And so that's when I decided, okay, if I'm going to do this, I've got to go freelance. And so
that's quite a plunge. That's quite a plunge to do freelance work, especially if you don't have that many contacts.
Yeah. So what I started doing was, while I was in an in-house production company, I started running and camera traineeing on anything I could get on during the weekends, because obviously during the week I was working. And it was actually when I got a call and I was asked to second AC on a short film, really low budget, kind of little nice production, that I thought, right, I'm gonna do this. I can leave work now, hand my notice in, and this will be my first real freelance job. And I did it. Scary though, definitely, like you said, a plunge.
Yeah. So do you want to just share with those who are tuning in today the difference between having your, you know, in-house job versus freelancing?
Yeah. So in-house is great because for me, you do tend to have a go at all the different roles available. You know, like I started with the cameras, and then, you know, they go, oh, can you edit? And so you start doing a little bit of editing. So it's great to give you an insight across all the roles that go into production, and I suppose give you a bit of an understanding. But I did then obviously want to go freelance, and leaving to go freelance meant that I could specialise. So I could then decide that I wanted to be in the camera department. And by camera traineeing, I was learning how it worked in a really different environment, in a real professional area of the industry. So I suppose.
And what was that like? And what was that like? Because now suddenly you find yourself in the freelance world. Was the work forthcoming, or did you have to really step up and try to network and get to know people?
Oh, it's tough. Like you said, you have to network, but remember, you've got to get the networking, get into them areas before you can even begin to network. So, you kind of work in running, cameras, traineeing wherever you can, online, reaching out to any contacts I had, and then hoping that from that I could build more contacts. So to get in initially was hard. I think because I did the running while I was in the in-house production company, that helped. I suppose, you really do start from the bottom. And that was something that was tough because I'd been, operating, picking up camera, shooting in the in-house production company. And then suddenly you're at the bottom of the food chain. So it was, it's a learning curve, certainly.
And it's a reality check as well, because you've got people who are way more experienced and knowledgeable out in the freelance world.
Yeah, and people that have worked, their whole lives to get to where they are. So you quickly realise that actually the industry is far bigger than you ever anticipated. And quite high hierarchy, which is weird to get used to when you've come from a small little team that kind of, help out and work together. So definitely, it's definitely a shock to the system.
And now your actual roles. So your title is camera assistant and clapper loader. For those who might not, be familiar with clapper loader, could you explain a little bit about your role?
Yeah, of course. So basically, the camera department is made up of a huge team of people, massive on big productions, smaller crews on others, but there's still more than just your operator, your DP. You've got your DOP, your operators, if it's not the same role on that job.
Can I just stop you a moment? So DOP, director of photography, the person in charge of all the cameras, right? And lighting.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So you have them, an operator, or however many operators. You have a first assistant, a second assistant, and a camera trainee. So if I go through them, the first AC would be primarily a focus puller. So they'll be pulling focus for the shots and making sure that everything's sharp. They will assist the operator. And obviously the operator is answering to the DOP. And then the second assistant will be assisting the first. So my role, if I was a second AC on set, is to make sure I'm supporting the first AC in every way possible so that they can focus truly on the focus pulling they're doing.
Because that's a really tough job, focus pulling. I think that's probably one of the hardest jobs on set.
Well, it's an absolute craft. It is. It really is. So that's why a second assistant is there, to support them, to make sure the lenses are clean, to look after the lenses, look after all the kit, to keep batteries charged, keep everything organised so that they don't have to worry too much about anything else. On top of that, the second AC is also, so sometimes you'll hear a second AC being called a loader. So that means that you're loading the camera, which goes back to years and years ago when we would have to load the film reels into the camera. Obviously that's now mags, which is very different. So we'll look after the camera mags. We'll also look after camera batteries. We'll communicate with the DIT, hand over all the footage, make sure that's safely transported over to ingest. And as well as that, we will then slate, So we'll be slating to communicate with the editor using camera notes, what happened in that take, why.
Can you just talk through slating? Because I think a lot of people watching behind the scenes programming or filming going on would have seen somebody with the clap. There's one behind you. I see one behind you. A clapperboard. Yeah, that's it. So I'm sure people have seen that. It's quite commonplace. How does that work? So what do you do with that? Just set the scene so that people can get an idea of what it means and what the purpose of that is.
So a slate is essentially a means of communication between what happens on set and what the editor sees. So if you're slating well, if you're doing a good job, really the editor should be able to go into his media and see the thumbprints, the thumbnails of a slate. And on that slate, you'll have the details. You'll have scene, take, frames per second, director, all the information you might need. And then he can use that to tally up with the notes that I'd have made as a second. So they know, I don't know, oh, that take, slate 7, take 4 is no good. I don't know, something went wrong and therefore we use the one after. And all those notes should, if done correctly.
So essentially it's on-screen note-taking, if you like, to assist the editor to speed up the process so that they can get organised very quickly.
Yeah, save time, exactly. So they don't have to kind of scroll through every shot, you know, if it's going to waste time.
Great, thanks for that. Now, you describe you work in a team, so you got the DOP, you got the various camera operators, you got the first assistant camera, which is also the focus puller. There's a big team of you, and there may be a trainee or a runner as well. What are the dynamics of that? How do you fit into that food chain, and what's required to make that whole team tick?
A big part of that, I'd say, would be set etiquette. Because there are so many of you, and the biggest thing on set is to save time. You don't want to waste time. There's so many people there. You can't afford, as a production, to be hanging around waiting for things. So I'd say one is the etiquette that comes with that, i.e. I will communicate with the first. I'm not going to bother the operator. They've got enough to think about, just like the operator will be in direct contact with the DOP. You wouldn't have a camera trainee running up to the DOP and talking to them and, I don't know, asking them questions. It just doesn't happen. And
there's just too much going on a set when you're filming, so there's no room for like extra chit chat.
Yeah, like, you know, the DOP's got to talk to the director. He's got his own, or he or she's got their own things to worry about, their own responsibilities. So you don't want to be annoying them with your bits and bobs. So yeah, I directly be in contact with one above or below, so camera trainee or first, and you try to keep that chain in order, just again because of time.
And how important is it, and how does it work? Do you always get on with everyone? How describe that?
Yeah, you have to have teamwork. Things will start to quite quickly crumble otherwise. It is definitely reliant on the teamwork, because you're all as important in certain ways, I suppose, in different ways, because, you know, as little as something like, I don't know, organising a charging station might be for a camera trainee, if you don't have those batteries, you can't shoot. You know, it's as simple as that. Every role has a responsibility and they're all just as important. But obviously, if you're not working as a team, that could all start to slowly crumble and you'll waste time, which, you know, you can't afford to do on set.
Yeah, time is money. So describe, what do you love about this process? What do you love about your job?
Firstly, I'd say that being a second AC or loader means that you get to be right there in the heart of the action of what's going on. You know, you're watching the behind the scenes. Yeah, it's great. You get to see what happens, but this is an unedited version of what happens, you know, in the process of filmmaking. So one, you're right in there in the heart of it. You get to meet people you'd never get to meet otherwise, maybe. You get to see real artists at work, I suppose. You get to work with people that you maybe never would imagine you'd been able to be on set with. But also, I'd say another thing would be definitely, I don't like to sit still. So the pace, the fact that you're always busy, you're always on your toes, you're never bored, which can also sometimes be hard work and one of the like pitfalls, I suppose. But yeah, balance.
Well, this is what I'm coming to next. What are the challenges of your role?
Yeah, definitely.
And be honest, because there's lots of people tuning in who might want to follow in your footsteps. So I think it's really important to kind of just present what the true challenges are.
Yeah. Oh yeah, give a sense of reality. It is tough. Very, very long days.
What kind of hours are we talking on an average, roughly?
Oh, I've had call times of, I don't know, 6 a.m, which means you've got to be up at maybe 4 with an hour's drive. You always want to be early. So you could be up at 4 and not home till 11 midnight. So very long days, very early starts. You get used to them, but they're still tough. What else? I suppose it is such a huge process, and you're one tiny little kind of pawn within that. So sometimes you do feel, I don't know how to say it, sometimes you maybe feel a bit out of your depth, or it can be lonely because there can be so many people on set, but there's so much going on, and you have such a responsibility to keep your role going and make sure that you're on top of everything you should be. So yeah, it's definitely, like you said, it can be kind of sugar coated and glorified. It's tough. Being on set is hard work.
It's a very pressurized environment because deadlines are really strict.
It's so intense
to do. Yeah,
it can be very, very intense. Yeah.
So Emily, no doubt you're ambitious. What options are there to camera assistants or loaders to progress career-wise? So is the next step a focus puller for you, or do you have other ambitions?
Yeah, so I have focus pull a little bit, but I wouldn't describe myself at all as a focus puller. Still kind of developing in that role, in that area. I would say if you were interested in assistant or the camera department, should I say, if you're interested in the camera department, I think even just, it doesn't matter what role or what department you're in, running is incredibly it's so good because it gets you on set. It teaches you the things that you can't learn by reading books, i.e. set etiquette, how roles work together, the environments you'll be put in, how to read a call sheet, all those kind of things that you can study, you can read, you can do, whatever you can do from home. It's not always going to give you that real life experience, that kind of realistic understanding of how things work. So I'd say running is always amazing, even if you're not just running for the camera department. Running in general can give you access to areas you'd not get otherwise. So I'd say, to begin with, just get out there running. If you're already in the camera department and you're maybe traineeing and you want to second, talk to the people around you, use them. They're doing what you want to do. They can give you all the advice that you can't get elsewhere. They have done it before, so speak to the people you know.
So for those tuning in today who may be they're not in the industry yet, but you've given some great advice already. Try and get yourself into a facilities house or a smaller organization where you can just do the rounds and learn a lot. Beyond that, do you have any other advice for people to prepare if they want to get into cameras?
I'd say, shoot. If you're interested in cameras, or the camera department, it's because you either love the tech or you shoot. So practice, keep up to date on everything that's going on out there, all the kit, all the tech, all the cameras, go to exhibitions, learn, keep on top of all that information because it's forever changing. I think just keep up to date on everything that's out there. It's all online, it's all on YouTube. There's so much there. Use it.
No, that's great. And just quickly, I'd like to talk about alongside your day job, you have another day job, which is teaching. Why do you do that when you've got such a great career?
I'm very new to teaching, so I can only speak as of a newbie. Well, one, I had to adapt. The pandemic hit, people weren't booking assistants on the smaller budget jobs. Films are still going ahead, but with smaller crews. The big stuff's happening, but I don't necessarily work in, huge production film work. So work was tough. That not much was coming in, if anything. I thought, okay, what else would I like to do? Use this time wisely. So I started looking for teaching jobs. But on the other side of that, I also am quite passionate, or very passionate, about, I suppose, passing on my knowledge to those that maybe want to hear it. So,
and you teach cameras?
So I teach, yeah, I mean, we're not in at the moment, obviously, so I'm not actually teaching them how to use the cameras, but everything around that where possible. But yeah, I teach the students how to work with cameras when we're in.
And I guess that gives you a real sense of satisfaction to
Yeah,
over to the next generation.
yeah, so it's something, but I think I want to kind of pass it on to those who maybe don't get the opportunity to speak to people in the real industry. You know, I'm not a DP, I'm not a director, but these roles are still important and I still have experience. And so if I can, you know, even just give realistic advice about how to get into the industry or how I did it, and pass on, I don't know, any sort of advice, then that's something that I'm hoping to do, or hoping I am doing.
Well, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are, Emily. It's been great, have you share your story, and you've given lots of great advice. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure having your company.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's very much an honour.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Now, I'd really like to hear from you. It's your turn to get in touch and speak to me about what's going on with you guys. Have you managed to get a foot in the door, or are you still on your journey to do that? Whatever your story is, do get in touch and share your stories with me. Also, if there's a role that I haven't covered, a job role that you're interested in, do leave me details of that, and I will research that and try and secure an interview with an industry professional in that role, so they can share what it means to work in that role with you. Also, to keep up to date with all the interviews in my series, How to Get into TV, Radio and Film, do subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's been great having your company today, as always. Thank you so much. And of course, I'll have a great guest for you, another great guest for you next week. So see you then.